Hello everyone and welcome. Question: does Nespresso make real espresso? The answer? It depends on who you ask. If we were talking to the Istituto Espresso Italiano, the IEI, not only do they have rules about how the espresso should taste, look, and smell, they also have only certain approved machines, roasts of coffee, and certified baristas who can create what they would call the traditional espresso. If we talked to the Specialty Coffee Association, a well-respected organization in the industry, they also have their own slightly different rules around making a traditional espresso. Everything from the grams of coffee to the water temperature and the bars of pressure. Now, in the eyes of those organizations, Nespresso doesn't really make the cut. But you may be wondering, does it really matter what they think? There are so many other organizations out there that have their own ways of defining espresso. So let's take a step back for a moment and just look at how Nespresso makes their coffee. And most importantly, does it taste good? We can talk about whether to call it espresso later on. So to start off, as most people know, Nespresso is a capsule-based system. You simply open the chamber, put the coffee capsule in, shut the chamber, and with a single press of a button, you have your coffee. You can buy a wide range of capsules that have different coffees from different countries and different roasts. This machine I'm using at home is called the Nespresso Pixie, and it uses the original capsules. I should mention that the newer Virtuo line of Nespresso machines has a slightly different brewing system that seems to vary even further from the traditional espresso. But for now and for this video, I'm going to be sticking to the original line. In testing for temperature, the first shot of water stabled out around 163 degrees Fahrenheit. I decided to read several doses of water in a row, and from the second one onward, they did seem to rise up a bit to around 170 degrees, but not much higher than that, whether I ran the shots back to back or whether I left some time in between. We can assume, though, that the actual temperature of the water at the point of contact with the coffee is going to be slightly higher because it has less distance to travel and it's not being exposed to the open air. So let's call it 175 to 180. The capsules themselves contain about 5 to 7 grams of ground coffee, and they are meant to produce about 40 grams of liquid on the regular button and 110 grams of liquid on the lungo button. If you take a look at the grind size, it's actually quite finely ground. This is great to see because this will be necessary for the machine to extract lots out of the coffee when there is not much water. In terms of the mechanics, the capsules are punctured by 3 holes in the back where I assume the water enters, and the front of the capsule where the aluminum is punctured by a bunch of squares. This looks to be where the extracted coffee exits from the capsule, exits the machine, and into your cup. While it's being held in place, the capsule is being blasted with hot water at very high pressure. Nespresso claims that the pressure is about 15 bars, or 15 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. So let's look at all of this together. We have about 175 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit water, 5 to 7 grams of coffee going in, 15 bars of pressure, and 40 grams of liquid coming out. For comparison's sake, what you're typically going to find at a coffee shop these days is something closer to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 grams of ground coffee going in, 9 bars of pressure, and about 35 to 40 grams of liquid out. Looking at it this way, if you are just trying to compare Nespresso to your local specialty coffee shop, then yes, at the end of the day, they are quite different. The grams of coffee is fairly low, yet the liquid is about the same. This tells you that the Nespresso is going to be a weaker beverage with less dissolved solids. A more startling difference, though, has to do with the bars of pressure. While 9 bars is the standard in the industry, 15 bars seems quite excessive. However, I actually noticed that the grind size in the capsule is not as fine as you would usually see in a cafe. So with this in mind, and with the lower temperature, 15 bars might actually be used here to compress the coffee during extraction and provide some resistance against the water. This would cause the water to go through the coffee slower and allow you to extract more from the coffee, giving you a stronger final cup. But enough with comparing it to the cafes and the organizations. On its own, do I think that Nespresso makes good coffee? I actually do. The flavors are bold and balanced, and best of all, they are consistent with every capsule. There's no morning dial-in process that you would need to do with an espresso machine. It just works. The texture is really quite nice as well, and you can definitely tell the difference between a Nespresso shot and a AeroPress or a mocha pot. They also tend to go quite well with milk, and honestly, I've had some capsules that taste better than what certain cafes have given me. So to wrap things up, whatever we decide to call it, it doesn't really matter. While it may not conform to some of the industry standards, it's still just roasted coffee being extracted by water. We shouldn't be arguing over definitions, we should be talking about taste and whether Nespresso satisfies our needs. If it's producing something that you enjoy, that's all that matters. So don't let any pretentious barista down the street tell you that your coffee experience is less valid. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions or need clarification, please comment, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I release weekly content. I will see you all next time. Have a great day.